All right, everyone, let's dive into a topic we all think we get, creativity. We tend to treat it like some kind of magical, mysterious force, but what if it's not? What does the science actually have to say about it?
You know, a lot of us have this idea that creativity belongs to people like Picasso or Einstein. We kind of think it's a genetic lottery, and most of us just didn't get the winning ticket. But as it turns out, the science tells a completely different story.
I mean, case in point, when Einstein died, scientists were so convinced his genius had to have some kind of biological source that they actually preserved his brain. And you know what they found? Absolutely nothing unusual. In fact, his brain was about 10% smaller than average. So yeah, so much for that theory.
And this brings us right to our first big idea. We have got to bust the myths that are holding our own creativity back. The whole notion that you have to be a born genius or some kind of total renegade is one of the biggest roadblocks there is.
We love to picture that lone innovator, right? The rule breaker, like Steve Jobs. But that's actually the exception. The much more common and frankly more successful path to bringing big ideas into the world is what researchers call the diplomatic rebel.
A perfect example of this is Eunice Kennedy Shriver. Her powerful, world-changing idea for the Special Olympics didn't just happen with one rebellious act. Oh no, it took decades of careful, patient, diplomatic work to build up support and actually make it a reality.
And this, right here, is the whole essence of being a diplomatic rebel. Shriver wasn't some troublemaker burning bridges. She was a brilliant innovator who knew exactly how to work within the system to change it. She built alliances, she understood people's motivations, and she navigated the politics to get it done.
Okay, so if it's not about being a renegade, then maybe it's just about how our brains are wired. We've all heard this one a million times. The left brain is for logic, the right brain is for art.
Well, modern neuroscience shows us that it is way more dynamic than that simple split. So let's take a look at what's really happening inside our heads when we have a creative thought.
So creativity isn't just parked in one part of the brain. Instead, it's more like a dance between three different networks. You've got the control network for focus, the default mode network for mind wandering and daydreaming, and then the salience network, which kind of acts like a switchboard operator. Real creativity happens when that switchboard knows exactly when to turn down our focus and just let our minds wander to make some new connections. And that default mode network, it is incredibly powerful. One study of creative professionals found that a huge chunk of their best ideas didn't come from being laser-focused on their work, but from just daydreaming and letting their minds roam free.
Okay, so if we all have the right hardware in our brains for this three-network dance, what's actually fueling our creative engine? What separates the people who tap into that potential from those who don't?
Well, researchers have kind of pointed to three core drivers that all work together. Creativity is really a combination of a personal trait you might be inclined towards, a skill that you practice, and a state or an environment that you're in.
Now, when it comes to those personal traits, one stands out way above all the others. Across countless studies, the best predictor of creativity is openness to experience, which is really just a scientific way of saying curiosity. It's that willingness to engage with new ideas and look at things from different perspectives. But your personality isn't enough, not by a long shot. The environment you're in, that state, plays a massive role. I mean, think about it. If you work somewhere that punishes failure, you're never going to take the risks you need for a creative breakthrough. You absolutely need psychological safety.
For a perfect and kind of hilarious example of this, just look at Ben & Jerry's. They have a literal flavor graveyard for their failed ice cream flavors. That sends such a powerful message, doesn't it? It says trying weird ideas isn't just safe here, it's actually a celebrated part of our culture. So, we've gone through the myths, the neuroscience, and the drivers of human creativity. But now we have to tackle the really big, modern question. Is all of this about to be made totally obsolete by artificial intelligence? You might be surprised to learn that AI has already gotten insanely good at generating art, poetry, and even creating faces of people who don't even exist. Trying to tell the difference between what a human created and what a machine created is getting harder every single day.
But the ultimate test, that came when Google's AI, AlphaGo, played the ancient and incredibly complex game of Go against the world champion Lee Sedol. This wasn't just about brute force calculations. Go is a game that requires intuition and creativity.
And then came Move 37. The AI made a play that was so unexpected, so unconventional, and so brilliant that it broke 4,000 years of human strategy.
The commentators were just speechless. They called it beautiful. This was a truly creative moment, and it came from a machine.
So, are we all doomed? Well, not yet. Humans still hold a pretty big advantage in a few key areas. We are far, far better at navigating the messy, mind-numbing complexity of the real world. We're great at learning from just a little bit of data. And most importantly, we're still the ones who can evaluate whether an idea is actually any good.
So the future isn't about replacement, it's all about partnership. The real opportunity here is in using technology to augment and amplify our own creative abilities, to see things we just couldn't see before.
To see this partnership in action, just take the case of Swisscom. They analyzed a bunch of anonymized mobile data and helped the town of Montreux see its traffic problem in a completely new light. What felt like this day-long nightmare was actually just a big problem at a few key intersections during 2 very, very short windows of time.
And this shows you how tech helps us in 2 key ways. First, it enables a whole new level of awareness by collecting these vast amounts of data to reveal patterns we'd never notice. And second, it allows us to implement our creative solutions at a massive scale that was pretty much impossible before.
So, creativity is not a magical gift. It is a skill we can all build, and it's a mindset we can all cultivate. And today, we have these new partners, AIs, that can generate endless possibilities for us. This means our most valuable human skill is no longer just about generating ideas, but it's about having the judgment and the wisdom to choose which of those ideas truly matter. So the question for you isn't just how you'll be creative, but what problems are you going to choose to solve?